between the words that are spoken and the words that are heard, may we encounter God's living word. Amen. Amen. Please be seated. Ask a sign of the Lord your God. Let it be deep as Sheol or high as heaven. Ask a sign of the Lord your God. Let it be as deep as the deepest thing you can think, or as high as the highest vision you can ever claim for yourself. Ask a sign. This is an interesting set of readings today, friends. It's an interesting set of readings because it's one that's pretty problematic for a lot of people. The story about a woman who's pregnant and an impending divorce that might or might not happen. It's a story about what happens to people when choices are made that involve the opinion of the public. So I wonder, when you heard this gospel story today, what stood out to you? What's the thing that you thought? What did you notice in today's story? It's a real question. What matters to you in this story today? Derek?
Like God and Jesus and Mary around King Heaven.
Okay. It's a story about God, Jesus, and Mary. What else? Yes.
What stands out to me is the way Joseph, he wasn't going to make her embarrassed or ashamed in the tribe, whatever. So he was going to privately dismiss her until the angel spoke to him. And he took the angel, like a lot of people wouldn't just embrace what the angel said. But he took it as being real, and he stood by Mary and did what was right in the eyes of the Lord.
So a story of a person that's involved in the story of God, taking it seriously and showing some grace before making a decision.
Not there from a human, but a ruling angel.
Okay, thank you, John. Yeah, it's a story of angels being involved.
It's an angel.
There's an angel involved, that's right, Kenneth. So it's a story of supernatural things happening and human things happening at the same time. Anything else? What stood out to you? You guys are right on today. What else?
Hope.
Hope. Here's the challenge with this story. It's why I started us this way today. When you think about the story of the birth of Jesus, most people hear the story that we hear from other gospels, a story that's miraculous, a story of an angel that tells us that something amazing has happened that no one can explain. It's a story of how the supernatural being of God comes down and makes something out of nothing, right? And this story is slightly different from the other ones because this is a story of human nature. It's a story of a man who's preparing to be married that gets faced with something he didn't expect and has a doubt. Most people that are biblical scholars would tell you that this is a story about how God intervenes to stop something horrible from happening. Because what you heard today is a story that is literally that moment you pointed out of a person that's about to be married that's trying to decide if they should stop this marriage, which, to be clear, in this patriarchal society at the time would have meant something very, very bad for Mary. It could have been her death, to be clear. But Joseph is wondering if he should dismiss her quietly, which in this small town would have also meant a certain kind of death, because there were only a few hundred people that lived there, as best we could tell. This is a story of shame, then. It's a story of how we move through the world wondering what people say about us. This gospel, I think, presents a certain liberation for us because it tells us something about our God on this fourth Sunday of Advent. It's not a story about the supernatural. I want you to note one thing here that's very clear. God chose Mary before the angel had a conversation with Joseph. God chose to be in solidarity then with a woman. God chose to be in solidarity with someone who was the weakest person in this whole setting, this whole cosmic story of who we are. God chose that before Joseph had a chance to change his mind. Did you hear that? God chose. God chooses to be in solidarity with all of us then. And then God speaks through the most miraculous and strange things that you can imagine. How many of you during this season of Advent have noticed something different? Have noticed the way you look into the world, or maybe the way your look lingers in a certain place? Maybe it's the candles that we light. Maybe it's the peace that you can find while you sit and listen to beautiful music in this space. Maybe it's the time you can take to sit in your house and observe your Christmas tree, or the company of good people over a table, a meal, a conversation. God chooses to be in solidarity with us and then speaks through other things to the people around us. This is the power of our story on this day. To think about the ways that we are called to pay attention to what it is that the world tells us isn't worthy of our time. To pay attention to the stories of shame that lead so many lives. I know that I have some. I don't know which ones you might have on this day. But this gospel asks us to imagine anew what God does in our life. Emmanuel, it calls him, God with us. God chooses that life. Chooses not to put down the systems of destruction that dehumanize all of us, the ones that tell us that poor people's lives are worth less, the ones that tell us that black people's lives are worth less, the ones that tell us that all the things that we should worry about are power and wealth. God doesn't actually turn those over today. Did you get that? God didn't change those things. God chose to meet us in the midst of that. To sit with us in that, to sit with Mary in that, and then to speak to Joseph. That means, friends, that we have something to do. We have a job to do in God's cosmic plan of what it means to be a people of faith and liberation. God is with us, and God is in conversation with us because we are the ones that are asked to be in these places of solidarity. Faith means that we don't speak to a higher, mysterious purpose alone. Faith means that we meet that mystery and we give it a name. We call it dignity here. We call it love here. It's one of my favorite times at the end of Advent when all of us, myself included, are starting to be really prepared for Christmas, really excited about it, aren't we? And yet, we get this one more chance to wait, to listen, to be still, and to be in solidarity with our God. To be where God is found, not in the pristine moments of our lives, but in the ones that feel most hard. Not in the perfect moments that we might imagine, but the ones that make us doubt ourselves even a little bit, the ones that awaken that voice of shame that's inside all of us, the one that whispers that we might not be enough, and to remember that God has already chosen that. That God has already chosen that as the vehicle to freedom, not just for you, but for everyone else that you might talk to. That is our faith. That is a faith that is alive, and it's one that asks us what we care about, what we dream about. So hear the prophet Isaiah again. Ask the Lord your God for a sign. Let it be as deep as anything you could imagine, or as high as the highest thing you could hope for. Ask for a sign this day. Even if you can't see it in this moment, know that as we wait and as we watch, our God is already with us, already dwelling among us, already calling us to co-create and co-liberate with God. Ask for that sign and let that guide you. Amen.
Amen.